welcome to the 2022 most anticipated books of the year. I think this is the first year that I've actually kind of talked about the books that I'm really anticipating, because it is the first year I've actually looked into what books are coming out. So let's get started. So because it is the end of January, we're going to be starting with the February books, because I was late and I didn't know if I was going to do this video or not, but I did. So here we are. Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes comes out on February 8th. It's described as a cross of The Shining meeting the Titanic. It is a science fiction horror novel in which a woman and her crew, bound on a decades-lost luxury cruiser, find the wreckage of a nightmare that hasn't yet ended. So I kind of heard about that and I thought that was really interesting. So it's on the list. I'm trying to read a bit more of one-shot books because I don't really have the time to read full series this year, even though I'm going to anyways. I'm getting the first book of The Expanse very soon. Of course, on February 15th, House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas is coming out, and I liked Crescent City. I have it on my bookshelf, and I did actually end up ordering the pre-order for this one, so I am pretty excited about it. I want to see where this story goes, but I'm kind of nervous because I already don't like the main male love interest the more I think about him, so we'll see. February 22nd, The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan comes out. This is the first book in an epic fantasy saga called The Empire of the Wolf. It just sounded really interesting. I'm trying not to read as many series this year. That's probably not going to be true at all. I'm going to say I'm not going to read any series, and it's going to be all series all year. But yeah, so February 22nd is when the first book of the Empire of the Wolf series comes out, and that is The Justice of Kings, and that sounds really cool. Also on February 22nd, Manhunt by Gretchen Falcon Martin comes out. This is a horror novel about what would happen if transgender and non-binary protagonists and characters were in existence in an apocalypse story, which I think is really cool as a non-binary person. So I'm super excited to read that. I think that'll be super fun. I do plan on actually reading that this year. There's some books on this list that I'm not actually going to get around to this year because I don't have time. I set my goal for reading this year to be the same as I did last year, which was 50, but at the same time I'm not being very strict about that. I am going into my third year of university. I have other things that I do. I just can't always read, even though it is my favorite thing to do. And on March 8th, now that we're getting to March, there's only one book in March that I'm interested in, but that is The Way Spring Arrives, which is a Chinese short story collection that's recently been translated. All the short stories in it are science fiction and fantasy, and I think there's a bit of speculative fiction in there too, which I really enjoy. One of my favorite books of all time is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. So I'm really excited to read this one. I'm hoping the translation is good because I know that can be a bit dodgy sometimes when reading foreign books. April 28th is Elektra by Jennifer Saint. This is a modern retelling, not modern retelling, but a retelling of the story of Elektra, which is part of Greek mythology. I don't really know much about Elektra, but I want to read more of the Greek mythology books because there's so many and they're so popular right now, and it's usually for a good reason. May 3rd, Book of the Night by Holly Black comes out. I have read Holly Black's Cruel Prince series, and I really enjoyed it, and this one sounds like it's more into the spy and underbelly of a city element, and I am very interested in that. Yeah, author Holly Black makes her stunning adult debut with Book of the Night, a modern dark fantasy of shadowy thieves and secret societies in the vein of Ninth House and The Night Circus. June 7th is Wrath Goddess Same, which is another Greek retelling story. I don't really know what it's about, but I just thought the cover was beautiful, so I put it on here. and I didn't put down the author's name. Whoops. Also on June 7th, Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert comes out. If you haven't read a Katie Robert book, they're kind of like spicy retelling of either Disney villains or Greek like gods, and this one is a scorching modern retelling of Helen of Troy, Achilles, and Patroclus that's sinful as it is sweet. July of 2022, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher is a modern retelling of Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, which is one of my favorite Edgar Allan Poe stories and poems. I really like that one, and I just am excited to read that. I think that would be really cool to see kind of a modern retelling of that story. August 9th, Fury Song by Rosaria Munda, which is the third book in the Aurelian Cycle series. I have already read Fireborn and Flamefall, and I'm really excited to read Fury Song. I want to see where this goes, so I think I will actually end up reading that book this year, hopefully. August 23rd is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is a weird story that kind of reminds me of X-Men a bit, because basically from the sounds of it, it sounds like this woman is surrounded by people who just keep dying whenever they're around her. But one of the taglines is Signa's best chance of uncovering the murderer, though, is in an alliance with Death himself, a fascinating, dangerous shadow who has never been far from her side, which sounds interesting to me. September 12th, 2022 is Known as the Ninth. I am thrilled that this book is coming out. I will put off every other thing in my life to read this, and that is a promise. This is the third book in the Luck Tomb trilogy, even though it's no longer a trilogy because there's 4 books now. This will be the third, and then Elektra the Ninth is going to be the 4th whenever that comes out. And September 27th, The Genesis of Misery, an immersive electrifying space fantasy from Yang Yang, author of Black Tides of Heaven. So I think it's just kind of like a high-tech queer space adventure, which I love. Very, very cool, and I'm very excited. So yeah, those are the books I am excited to read in 2022. Actually, they're the books I'm excited to let come out and possibly read in 2022, because I don't know what I'll be reading this year. I cannot predict where my brain will want to go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what books you're planning on reading in 2022 in the comments, and make sure to subscribe because that's super cool. Have a nice day. Bye.